Good morning. Good morning. Today we're going to go through my notes from yesterday. So, yesterday I attended a professional resume writing workshop hosted by Laisha McDaniel, and it was at the Bessie Coleman Library on the south side of Chicago. So, I have a bunch of notes, so we're going to jump into the notes. I also wrote more notes on my Substack, so I'll put that link and Laisha's links in the comments of this video or the description, depending on if you're on YouTube or if you're on LinkedIn. Um, Also, she's from LLF Consulting, so I didn't want to miss all of that information. So yesterday she covered resume writing, and we had really good conversations, and there was a lot of good notes that I took. It was for beginners, but for people who are transitioning in their career or people who haven't looked at their resume in a really long time, aka me, it was a really, really helpful workshop to go into. So first we talked about what employers look for. So we talked about the gaps, because I think a lot of people get worried about, one, if they get fired, and two, if there's gaps in their employment. So let's say you had a baby, or let's say something happened in your family, or let's say, like in my case, I had a gap a long, long time ago. I think this was before I had a career. Um, I had a gap when I was homeless. I was in a shelter, so I'm not going to have a job. Well, you can have a job in a shelter, but I didn't have a job while I was in the shelter. So that would be technically my gap. What employers consider a red flag is usually 6 months or more. That is usually a red flag for employers. So if you have a 6 month gap, there's a way that you could work through that by the resume type. Or one, you got to be transparent about the situation, and then two, there's a type of resume that you can use to kind of not make that gap so big. Or not big, but big is the wrong word, because you don't want to make it look like the gap is noticeable. There we go. We'll work with that. So the number of pages in a resume. So that's something that came up too. 2 pages are ideal. I used to believe in the myth of the 1-page resume. Like, I was really big on that. But if you are a student or you're entry level, 1 page is fine. If you have a more extensive career, you do want to look into having 2 pages for your resume. So employers want to know, how did you move the needle from your roles and responsibilities? So when we're talking about the actual jobs that you worked and your task, you don't want to copy and paste the job description. What you want to do is really look at, I wrote notes on this part too. Okay, yeah. So you want to shift your mindset from listing out your task to accomplishments. I think that's a huge shift, and I feel like that needs to be a conversation in itself, and because we need to start thinking that way when we are doing our work and we're doing our resumes and stuff. And if you have a job, your performance reviews, you need to be thinking about that too. And I think that was really, really important. So you will move the needle by sharing accomplishments, things that you improved, things that you helped the company save, like those type of things. You want to put in your resume, which I had to do that on mine, because some of my stuff was task. Like, it was different experiences for me, but when I looked at it, I was like, okay, those are tasks. I need to be looking at, like, the numbers, which for me was pretty easy for some of my jobs because we have reports and those type of things. So I was able to grab it from those reports. So the next thing I wrote was, give people enough information to let them know that you're qualified for the job. Like, if you were to tell someone why you are qualified, why you are the person for this job, that is what you need to be thinking of when you do your resume. And then let's see. This one was a good one too, because it struck me halfway through the workshop that I was like, oh, this applies to me. List the jobs that are relevant to the jobs you are applying for. This is huge to me because I spent more than half of my career as a quality engineer. So like that was my thing, that was my world, that was my everything. And then a shift happened after my third QA job where I realized I'm not going to be doing this anymore. And I realized when I listed out all my jobs and I listed out all my work, I went from quality engineering to web design, like UX web design, and marketing operations. Like it was a mixture of those three, to program management. Like I ended up shifting into those different careers. And I realized on my resume, I was trying my hardest to hold on to my quality engineering jobs. And in my mind, I was telling myself, well, I'm holding on to these quality engineering jobs because that's where I got the bulk of my technical experience. But then I realized I actually got my variety of technical experience as a web designer, as a UX designer, like doing in marketing operations. Doing that work helped me learn about learning management systems, content management systems like WordPress, that type of stuff. I had to code when I was, I did front end development when I worked for some agencies. I did technical discoveries. I did, what else did I do? I did Google Analytics. I did advertising. I did CRM management. A lot of the bulk of my work was in that web design piece, which now that I'm speaking this out loud, I got to edit my resume again. I realized I left out a lot of that stuff. See, it's happening even now. But my point is, when I'm applying for jobs, I have to leave out the QA stuff. And I had to focus on my web design and marketing operations experience and my program management experience. So I'm going to write this down because I know I'm going to forget this. Note to self. Add design and work to my resume / portfolio. Okay. So that's just my note for later. Okay. Where I'm at, I'm at 7 minutes. So I could probably talk through 2 more things. I probably got to do a part 2 and a part 3 and all of that. And I got to do my part 4 for the crypto recruiters because I still didn't finish through all of that I had to talk through. Okay. So let's see. And there's one big one that I want to touch on at the end of this, at least at the end of this video. So list the jobs that are relevant to the jobs you're applying for. So that one, again, really look at your career, understand like when were you a cashier, when were you like the office admin, or when were you like a developer. Like definitely figure out like what do you need to put on your resume to let the people who are hiring you know, like, I have this experience, I did this work. Okay. Let's see. This I did not know. First thing recruiters verify is the timeline. Recruiters know that people lie. And especially lie about how long you worked at a company. And sometimes it's not even a lie. I'll be dead honest. I worked for many people at the same time. And this was before like the whole like I'm gonna have 2 jobs so I can make $200K a year. I was a contractor, so, and I've been freelancing for a really, really long time, which I probably should do some content around freelancing, at least the mistakes, because I made a lot of mistakes. Sorry, my brain is like pew 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 pew. Note to self, I'm gonna write it down. Okay, there we go. So, recruiters do call, and the first thing they do is verify. They verify how long you worked at a place. So you definitely want to be on your P's and Q's when it comes to how long you worked at a place. You don't have to have the date, but you need to be at least familiar with the month and know for sure the year. For my resume, I am worried. Like if I was to put it out there for jobs, I am worried about the time period. So I think for me, I will put contractor or temp work or project. I don't know. I would figure out something around, like, if you had a bunch of short jobs and it was like that for a reason and you just weren't getting fired from job after job, I would put contractor, my title, and then contractor. But no, they call places to verify timeline. That's one of the things. And then another thing that comes up, which I'm like, oh Jesus, I don't know how people are gonna take this. A lot of people get concerned when it comes to, I was fired from a place, I don't want these people to find out. And there was relief knowing that it is illegal for a place to ask another place of employment, did this person get fired? Yes, that is illegal. They cannot ask that question. But I found out there's a workaround for them finding out. They will ask the question, is this person rehirable? And that will kind of be a telltale sign of whether or not you got fired. So just be careful with that. And then I wrote questions for myself that I think other people should be asking too, which is, when you leave a place of employment, get laid off, or get fired, you need to find a way to verify that after you already left that employer. And I don't think just having a conversation with a coworker will work or be sufficient enough. So I would personally explore how to figure that out for your past employers. And then something else that I wrote, which I think is an obvious question, but I still wanted to ask it, which was what factors determine for an employer, or what factors determine what makes you rehirable and not rehirable? Like, of course, if you acted a fool and did all kinds of stuff, that makes you not rehirable. But like, if you're laid off, if it was a performance thing, like, is there gray area? Like that was what I was thinking in terms of this. And I think that's all I'm going to do for this video, because I've reached past the 10-minute mark. I'm at the 12-minute mark. I realize I'm teetering around 12 minutes as I do these videos. So make sure you subscribe if you're on my YouTube. If you're on my LinkedIn, like, definitely drop a comment, say hello, like the video, engage with the video. And I'll see you all next time, which for me will be a few seconds from now, because I'm about to record part 2. All right.